This week we're taking a look at our Prismatic Titan and all the crazy things we'll be able to do with it, as the final shape is in less than 3 weeks and we want to have ideas on strong builds from day one. This is for the day one campaign experience, your legend campaign experience as a whole, not the day one raid, which apparently people were confused about by the last time and were trying to convince other people that you couldn't use the Prismatic subclass in the day one raid. No, the only thing locked behind the day one raid is the exotic armor pieces, namely the class items. The class itself will be usable in its entirety, I'm pretty sure, maybe minus a few fragments, for the campaign itself. We're going to go over everything coming, and then we're going to be making a build that we'll be able to use during the entire final shape campaign. Now, of course, they're going to be adding stuff as we play, meaning we're going to have more options, and we'll go over those when we get there. But with that being said, please subscribe if you want to see more builds as we head into the final shape. Like the video, as it helps out a ton for the algorithm and having other people see my videos. Comment what you're most excited about, and let's get right into this video. First, let's look at the basic stuff for our Prismatic Titans. We'll have access to all 3 jumps, that being High Lift, Strafe Lift, and Catapult Lift. We'll also have all the class abilities being Towering Barricade, Rally Barricade, and Thruster from our Arc subclass. These will all be available to us from the start when we equip our Prismatic subclass. And speaking of our Prismatic subclass, we need to talk about Transcendence. This is new and exclusive to our Prismatic subclasses. While playing on Prismatic, there will be a new bar under your super bar that fills up when we do damage with light or darkness damage types. Once filled, you can activate Transcendence, fully recharge your abilities, and get a new super powered grenade option. For Titans, that is going to be the Electrified Snare. Throw an arc explosive device energized with strand matter and arc energy that detonates in a supercharged suspending burst. The suspended target takes heavy damage over time and chains jolting lightning to nearby targets. I think this grenade is actually a really strong option, and it might be the best just because you can throw it, take a target out of the fight, and stun an unstoppable champion, and then it's going to jolt targets, which says it's going to do a lot of damage according to the way you read it, and is going to stun overload champions. So again, I think this grenade is going to be very good. Moving on to our subclass options themselves, starting with the new Void Super Twilight Arsenal. We throw axes at our targets, they suck things in, they explode, and then they give you and allies the ability to pick up those axes and use them, which on paper sounds really good and sounds really fun, but we're gonna have to see for ourselves when the final shape comes out. For melee, we get our shield throw, one of my personal favorites. We also get suppressor grenades and the new aspect Unbreakable, which will allow us to consume our grenades, put a shield in front of us, and as we take damage it will charge, we release it, and it does damage to those opponents. Again, on paper it sounds really cool, but we're going to have to see. For Arc, we have the almighty Thunder Crash for our super, then Thunder Clap for our melee, which is again another one of my favorites. Pulse Grenades, again another one of my favorites, and Knockout, which people don't give enough credit to. It is very good at keeping people alive on Arc Titans, and it's no banner of war by any means, but it is going to be just fine. And all of these arc options are part of our starting kit. For Strand, we have our Blade Fury Super, our Frenzy Blade Melee, which we have 3 charges of, so I can't wait for that to play around with. Then Shackle Grenades and Drengir's Lash as our grenade and our aspect. We start with the Shackle Grenade and the Frenzy Blade as our starting options for our beginning Prismatic setup. For Solar, we have Hammer of Soul as our super, and I'm really sad it's not Burning Maul. We have the Hammer Strike Melee, which is just like the shoulder charge, Thermite Grenades, and Consecration as our grenade and our aspect, which Consecration paired with Frenzy Blade is going to give us 3 hammer slams at once, and I can't wait to have them unlocked because that is going to be so much fun to use. Think of it as like the Arc Warlock, just Arcane Needle Lightning Strike type of thing, but instead we're doing hammer slams on Titans, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. Finally, for Stasis, we have our Glacial Quake Super, our Shiver Strike Melee, Glacier Grenades, and then for our aspect we have Diamond Lance, which is our other starting aspect, which I think is going to be really fun. When we pick our Prismatic subclass on the first day that the final shape is out, I'm going to be switching between Thunder Crash and Blade Fury depending on what my team will need at that point. Blade Fury, I'm gonna focus more towards like ad control, ad clear, and Thunder Crash obviously for damage. For melee, I'm probably gonna take Thunderclap just because it does so much damage, and hopefully it will also keep up that damage inside of the Legend campaign. I'll take Shackle Grenade so we can suspend targets easily. Then we can only take Knockout, which will give us health regen with our melee defeats, which is going to be really easy because of Thunderclap. And then Diamond Lance, which we're going to make Diamond Lances from any ability while we're on Prismatic. So again, we charge up our Thunderclap, we throw it out, we make a Diamond Lance, we get our health regen from Knockout, and we're going to be able to make use of a bunch of our fragments, which we're going to talk about in just a second, because I'm also going to take Thruster. Now we can talk about our fragments. It looks like we're going to be able to take all of the 5 starting fragments at the beginning of the campaign. These include Facet of Dawn, powered melee hits against target make you radiant, powered melee final blows make both you and nearby allies radiant. We also have Facet of Hope, where when you have an elemental buff, your class ability regenerates more quickly. Facet of Protection, while surrounded by enemies, you are more resistant to incoming damage. Facet of Purpose, picking up an Orb of Power grants either Amplified, Restoration, Frost Armor, Woven Mail, or an Overshield based on the type of your equipped super. And finally, Facet of Ruin. This increases the size and damage of a burst when you shatter a stasis crystal or a frozen target, and increases the size of our solar ignitions. We'll easily get Radiant from Dawn with our Thunderclap, which will play back into Hope, as it's going to give us an elemental buff, giving us increased class ability regeneration. And then we either get Amplified or Woven Mail by picking up an orb from Facet of Purpose, which will also play back into Facet of Hope, which will then make us more tanky in combo with Facet of Protection. And then Facet of Ruin is just going to help out our Diamond Lance a little bit, and then whatever weapon you want to run that could potentially cause ignitions. But for the most part, I think the first one I would swap out is going to be Facet of Ruin, just because there might be a better option for this playstyle that we might just get a lot sooner. I don't know if the fragments are going to be locked behind some post-campaign thing like they have been in the past, or we're going to be able to unlock majority of them during the campaign itself. We don't know any of that information yet, but I will swap out Facet of Ruin, the first one, because I don't see us getting a lot of use out of that compared to the other facets that we could potentially get for this subclass. For exotics, like I had mentioned, we won't have access to the class item until after the raid, but there are 4 exotics that I'm looking at to use before then. First, we have Point Contact Cannon Brace, just to get some extra mileage out of our Thunderclap. Thunderclap is already really good on its own, but when adding on Point Contact Cannon Brace, our Thunderclap is going to be all that just a little bit better, and hopefully I'll be able to use it throughout the entire campaign, and I'll be able to get some very, very good usage out of it. We then have Armamentarium. This is going to give us that extra grenade charge. I'm looking to pair this primarily with our Shackle Grenades, as double Shackle Grenades are really, really good. They just can lock down a lot of areas, and actually I think it'd be really cool if Armamentarium gave you an extra grenade inside your Transcendence. That would be absolutely hilarious, as it does count as a grenade. So we're gonna have to mess around with that and see what we can do with that. I'm also looking at Heart of Inmost Light. I feel as though it'll do amazing with Prismatic. I know it got nerfed, but with Facet of Hope giving us that increased class ability regen, I have a feeling it's going to do a lot better with Prismatic than it is with the other subclasses. And finally, we just have the very ever so classic Synthoceps. Excuse me, I'm having a hard time talking. I can never pronounce Synthoceps, but we're going to take this for more melee damage and more super damage when we are surrounded by targets. A very obvious choice, especially when we pair it with something like Blade Fury and Frenzied Blade. But with that being said, that is the end of this particular video. It's a little bit more condensed than the Warlock video, which I think is a good thing, a lot easier for people to view. But overall, I think that the Prismatic Titans are going to be really, really good. Probably not like broken on day 1 or even a little ways into the campaign. I think they're really going to shine once we get access to Consecration, so this way we can do the 3 hammer slams, and then we can still throw on Pyro Gales, hopefully, and be able to make those fire tornadoes with Consecration, which I think is going to be super, super fun, and I honestly can't wait to do that. That's like the one thing that I'm waiting to do for my Prismatic Titan, is to throw on Frenzy Blade, throw on Consecration, throw on Knockout, and just slide around, up, down, slam, make tornadoes, wipe entire rooms with just ignitions and scorching and and all that good stuff. It's the one thing I want, and I'm hoping that we can unlock it pretty early so I can mess around with that for a while inside the Legend campaign. But rambling aside, if you liked the video, please like it, as again, it really helps the algorithm, really helps push my videos to people who want to see it. Subscribe if you want to see more, or if you're curious as to what we're going to be doing as we go into the final shape. And of course, just comment what you're really excited about. This is a lot of stuff, a lot of really cool build crafting opportunities, and I'm curious to see what you guys want to do and what you guys are doing. So please just, again, let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video.